Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, from Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977, it's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for the NXT Event Center Wrestling Report. And now here's the man that will bring you all the wrestling happenings from the WWE Superstars of tomorrow, Eric M. Lima.
Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans 1977. Excuse me. Episode 2591 is the NXT Event Center for October the 7th, 2025, 10:42 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about NXT ShowDown as NXT and TNA are on a collision course tonight. And like I said, on the last episode, I talked about Matt Riddle's heel turn in MLW. Imagine, if you will, and he returns to NXT. Imagine if, from some strange reason, the WWE decides to resign this guy. Okay, it won't be a reality, but think about it. Imagine like if Ricky Saints dominates as NXT champion for a long time, like Obafemi has, and some crazy person in a black hood, masked hood, attacked Ricky Saints, took out the mask, and it's Matt freaking Riddle in his heel mode from MLW, the rude dude. Imagine that. I was like, I am very surprised that Vince McMahon did not capitalize, did not even think of that. And it's like, oh, you want to think of Matt Riddle as some stoned out dude? He's not RVD, I think. And this is the kind of Matt Riddle that should have been used in the WWE. This little heel. They did, if you subscribe to MLW, they did a short video on this. You gotta check them out. You gotta check out the heel turn. It's just nuts and insane, And how long was it planned? I had no idea. So, yeah, something to think about. A little food for thought, as a wrestling fan. Okay, let's talk about the NXT ShowDown 2025 NXT TNA lockup and battle and all that. And this matchup, Dark State, it would be Osiris Griffin and Dion Lennox, with Shaquan Sugars and Cutler James ejected from ringside. They defend the NXT Tag Team titles against the TNA Tag Team champions, the Hardy Boys, or the Hardys. Winning team, winner take all. And ladies and gentlemen, we have new NXT Tag Team Champions, the Hardys. The Hardy Boys. That's right. And they'll be taking those titles into that matchup at Bound for Glory against Team 3D. Imagine, if you will, what if Team 3D wins the matchup, and with both belts on the line, I can imagine the Dudleys and the Hardys, complete the set. The Hardys have completed the set. They are the Tag Team Triple Crown champions. They've been Raw Tag Team champions. They've been SmackDown Tag Team champions. They've been TNA Tag Team champions. They're Grand Slam champions. Now they're NXT Tag Team champions. All the other tag teams in NXT better come lining up. They want to face the Hardys. It'll be a heck of a matchup. All right, and in attendance were the Dudley Boys, a.k.a. Team 3D. You know what that means. The Hardy Boys proved they are the greatest tag team in all space of time because they got the NXT. They collected more titles, about as much as titles as Team 3D. Now it comes down to who is the best tag team in wrestling today. If you talk about best tag teams, you have to go date back to the Road Warriors, God rest their souls, the British Bulldogs, God rest their souls, Demolition. You got the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express. The Wild Samoans. You got all these great tag teams back in the day. Now, the Hardys and Dudleys are trying to continue that trend, even though it'll be their final match against each other. Will the NXT Tag Team titles be on the line in this agreement? I'm sure the Dudleys will probably want it, and I'm sure the Hardys would not mind. It's up to Ava if she wants that to happen, because this could be mega high stakes if you think about it. So that's good. So congratulations to the Hardys. Everybody loves the Hardys. Why not? Everybody loves the Hardys, This is V1, and this is the Hardy, what Jeff does. Okay. Then there was a Women's Survivor Series matchup. In fact, both for both men's and women's Survivor Series matches, Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry are put as referees in this matchup. Jordan Grace was the referee of this matchup, and is Kaylani Jordan, the TNA Knockouts champion, teaming up with Mara Shade and the Inspiration, who got their old theme song when they were the Iconics. You know, so so they got that against JC Jane, the NXT Women's Champion, Sol Ruka, the NXT Women's North American and Women's Speed Champion, Lola Vice, and Jada Parker. And it came down to, the Inspiration was eliminated first. Mara Shade was next, and then it came down to Kalani Jordan. Meanwhile, Jada Parker was eliminated first, and Lola Vice and Sol Ruka. JC Jane ended up picking up the victory after Sol Ruka hit the Soul Snatcher. Actually, no, Sol Ruka wasn't eliminated. JC Jane tagged herself in. So JC Jane and Sol Ruka were the sole survivors in that matchup, with NXT picking up the victory. And it's kind of like one to one. Matt Cardona talks to Ava and apologizes to her. He says, I want a match. And then Josh Briggs bucks in there while Matt Cardona hides and said, hey. And Matt Cardona hides, but doesn't say anything as Josh Briggs, I want Matt Cardona. I'm sure he has no problem with that. We'll do it next week. And then after Josh Briggs, he can come out now. He's gone. He's like, thanks, Ava. I love how this place works. I'll see you next week. So there'll be a matchup next week. Meanwhile, Sarah Schreiber, the North American title was on the line. Ethan Page defending against Mustafa Ali, and Ethan Page retains the title, so NXT's up 2-1. And then Sarah Schreiber interviewed El Hijo del Wagner Jr., or Dr. Wagner III. Lexis King interrupts Dr. Wagner III, thinking that he's Tavion Heights to take out the mask, and he starts, and Dr. Wagner III says, no. Starts speaking Spanish, and he goes, we learn Spanish, and then Tavion Heights looks, and, hey, what do you guys, hey, and then all of a sudden he looks, and it was Lexis King. Lexis King looked around, like, how did you're good, and then he looks at him, and he's like, he says something to him in Spanish. I'm like, everybody learns how to play Spanish nowadays. Meanwhile, the TNA NXT Women's title celebrate, and says, congratulations, champs, back at you. And then Zarya comes over, you celebrate with your new friends. I said, listen, Zarya, we've got to squash this, okay? I know I didn't vouch for you. And then Blake Monroe says, oh, she's just using you and all that. Zarya was about fed up with that. And then she goes, I'm interested only in one title. And she, looks like Blake Monroe may be challenging Sol Ruka for the Women's North American title down the road. We'll see what happens there. Then the Men's Survivor Series matchup, Joe Hendry refereeing. And the NXT champ Ricky Saints teaming up with Javon Evans, the TNA World Champ Trick Williams, and Miles Bourne to take on Mike Santana, Moose, X Division champ Leon Slater, and Frankie Kazarian. Well, the matchup was won by Team TNA after Trick Williams walked out on his team. Basically, Ricky Saints. So we'll see what happens in that. So the Hardys the TNA got the bookends of this event, and while the middle matches, so they're at 2 apiece. And then Ava talked to Santino. Well, our partnership's back on the right track. I'll tell you what, I need a new number 1 contenders match for the NXT Women's Championship. I want to invite the TNA Knockouts to be part of it. And Santino goes, an invitation accepted. So the showdown is over, but everything's back on the right track. So we'll see what happens this Thursday, this coming Thursday, as we do, I believe it's the final Impact before Bound for Glory. I think Bound for Glory is this Thursday, I think. And this Friday, it was a Saturday, I believe. So, interesting situation. So, yeah, so that means both factions are at 2 apiece, so, after Showdown. So, that means we're going to make it work together. So So who's going to be part of this NXT Women's Battle Royal? Well, we'll find out next week. So also Matt Cardona and Josh Briggs will go one-on-one in the matchup. So I wonder what happened to Yoshiki Inamura. Ever since he lost to Briggs, it seems like he kind of walked away. So that's it. That's all the time that we have. Episode 2591. We're 9 episodes away from 2,600 episodes. Next up will be the AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday. So tune in for that. So I'll see you later, guys. Until next episode comes rolling around, Mr. Announcer, take us home.
That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and do it for Bob Saget production and in association with a Raving Bull for 3000 Telepictures and Distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.